Today we are gathered here with six guests who are like-minded individuals who are connecting with one another and assisting others on this journey of raising awareness and higher levels of consciousness. So I'm honored to have all of you here to join me in having you share aspects of your own specific journey, the path of darkness to light, being part of a crowd and finding individuality. And then, of course, taking the steps and representing a cause that can help to enlighten others. So I want to welcome you all here. Elsa, Sheila, Karen, Preston, and other guests who I've invited who will probably join us along the way. But if not, we'll take it over from here. We were just interestingly enough talking or discussing about the energy of dolls. And I had mentioned a few minutes ago that I went with my grandchildren to a place called the Sculpture Garden in New Jersey, which is like these big statues. And being in the vicinity of the statues themselves, it almost feels as if they're moving or they're giving off an energy. And Karen was sharing a little bit about her particular take on that particular feeling. Maybe you just want to get into that.
Okay, so this is not my theory, but it's a theory that I've heard from different people from different modalities and ways of thinking, and even to native Aboriginal groups, that if you take a picture of someone, you're trapping a piece of their essence, their soul within. And even people who do specialize in quantum physics, they say that when we have an image of ourselves, you can do healing on that image and it will get to the person who needs to receive the healing. So in spirit of that, since most dolls and statues are made in the likeness of real people or real children, often they're copied from or in the likeness of, there is the possibility that they have trapped within them, for lack of a better word. Maybe it's not as negative as that, but the energy or the essence of the original in the likeness of the doll or the statue. And I've always found dolls to be a little bit creepy. Anyway, maybe that's why.
Interesting. Anybody else?
Well, the term voodoo doll certainly comes to mind when I hear that.
Yeah.
I do think it does play a role in our beliefs systems, looking at little girls and how they love their doll and learn parenting from that. Yeah, I thought it's very interesting what you said, Karen, about, how not so much that it captures, but it allows a person to sort of tune in to a person, which I've seen that done with psychics and psychic healing. They just look at the photograph, perhaps, of a person. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting the role dolls play in our culture. Lots of cases of haunted dolls. Of course, Annabelle, that feature film, was based on an alleged true story from Ed and Lorraine Warren about a haunted doll. So
Yeah.
I get it that some people think they're creepy. But yeah, I mean, I'm not huge on dolls, as you might expect.
I had
It
something.
is interesting.
I had something that just came to my mind in terms of the healing itself, is almost as if a doll itself has the chakra system or the points on it, as does the holographic point imagery that can be associated just as we can. So as if we're almost a soul, I mean a body, as I guess you could assume in some capacity that a doll is also just a body without a soul or with a soul. But okay, that's I guess a topic for the sculpture garden and then another time.
Can I say something
Sure.
just to the doll?
Yeah.
So the doll is an icon. The doll over history was used as they call it a doggy or a humanoid figure. They used it in infanticide, so it's got a lot of dark history. This is probably where we all resonate with the feeling of it creepy, it being one of my biggest fears that I had to face. I faced it through an interview, as I seem to have happened. But this is why I was interesting with Preston, is I was interested because it holds the energy like you see in films. It's like I think they call it an alimut. It holds the energy, and this is what's happened with the bust of Neff. It's an icon, and an icon holds the energy. It's an image, like Karen said, of themselves. They call it a mirror. And this is how the ancient ones are communicating with us now, through us remembering these things. And of course, you will remember a lot of the dark as well. So this is where all those fears arise in us. But the Japanese doll was the one that brought forth they would take the soul of a child and place it in a doll. Yeah, the Kokeshi doll. Over the years, I found that it was the Egyptians who didn't do this practice. They would use dolls. They had little blue ones for something different. So I just found, because people go to antique stores and stuff. So when you go to these antique stores, you can pick up things or presences, and they can, I don't know if they attach to you or they just hang out with you because they know that you might be able to see them. But they're there. So, and we've had this a lot with people that come across antique dolls as well. I've had to do photo shoot of a big room full of dolls, and that freaked me out. I actually wouldn't photograph them. I told them I wouldn't do it. They flew me to shoot at this house, and they opened the room and they said, "We want you to shoot all the rooms in the house." I think it was for Marie Claire magazine. I walk in, they opened the door, and it was filled with dolls. Rows and rows and rows of antique dolls. I nearly fainted. Yeah. Just the energy they hold, because they're, like Karen said, a mirror. Yeah.
Sheila, do you have anything to say on that?
Absolutely. Years ago, I used to look at it as being in fear, but things have totally changed within my energy field. And I think it was where we in humanity looked at it as being fearful and scary. And since my energy has resonated to higher frequency and also stepped into who I really am, I don't feel the fear in it anymore. I feel the soul of the actual person that actually made it, the energy of the person. And it also kind of shows us how we are all evolving, that the energy is different now. It's the way you look at it and what is stored within the cellular memory that brings out that fear. So we can turn it around like the elephant behind me, the eyes behind me, the soul, the representation of the angel and the soul, the angel, the elephant and the soul, and the magnificence of what the energy of an elephant actually represents. So it's totally different now for me than it was years ago. Watching The Exorcist and all the old dolls and all the other scary stuff that we grew up with. So that's the difference and the change in the energy here. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as we ascend into these new these changes of life, and in terms of where we're at, obviously many people have been going through different ascension symptoms and different aspects of physical and emotional change in one's life. And many of you who are here sharing your stories and doing the work you do, as I mentioned before, are raising the level of consciousness. You speak about a doll having energy, but of course, we as human beings contain so much energy of interactions between people, our own experiences from the past, the present, and creating moments or energies for the future. How would you assess the situation of ascension right now in terms of where we're at and how we can ascend, not leaving the earth, as many people think, to go into a spiritual realm, but to be grounded as well as to be on the ground and have a connection to the universe? So anybody want to share?
I'll start, I guess.
Okay.
I think this is something that we all strive to. I think ultimately it's inevitable that we learn to become wise and raise our consciousness, increase our awareness. I think it's a long pathway to spiritual enlightenment, and there are many ways to it. But ultimately, I think that's what it's about, gathering wisdom, building your awareness, and the earth is a great schoolyard, if you will, to do this, because there are lessons we can experience here, which you certainly can't experience on the higher planes. And I mean, there's the Tibetan Buddhism, I think, talks about the siddhis, siddhes. These are supernatural abilities that manifest on the pathway towards spiritual enlightenment. And that would be precognition or levitation or immunity to fire, superhuman strength. They also call them obstacles because this can cause someone to become a little bit enamored with these abilities. And that's not really the point. The point is to become one with the universe. And like I said, I think this is something we are all going to do at some point. This is why we're here. And that's what Earth School is all about, is learning to learn that we're all connected, learning the importance of love, truth, raising yourself out of delusion, raising yourself out of ignorance, and learning compassion and oneness. And of course, I think there are many ways of doing this. Pretty much all the world religions and philosophies do agree upon meditation. It's one of the few things that pretty much all of them agree upon. That's what I always encourage people to do who are interested in moving themselves along towards spiritual enlightenment.
Yeah. Anybody have the hand up? Okay, Karen.
I was going to say, and this is just from my own personal observation. I'm not claiming to be an expert or anything like that. But it seems to me that people need to go through an awakening process before they start their ascension process. And the awakening process is not fun at all, is not pleasant. You could compare it to the caterpillar once it goes into its pupal state and becomes mush. It's a pretty, at least for me, it was a very traumatic experience, and it comes in waves even now, because there's only so much you can cope with at a time. So I see the world right now being very chaotic, meaning the population of humanity being very chaotic. But I think it's because the awakening process is happening, and I think people, they need to learn to crawl before they can walk, and they need to go through that to open themselves up for the ascension work. And I also think that there are many people who will try to escape. I know I did for years through addictions and other things, because who wants to feel crappy? Not me. And there's enough things that make us feel crappy already. So, but layer by layer by layer, awakening, ascension, awakening, ascension. And for me, ascension isn't like going off and becoming a ball of light. It's embodying the attributes of the change that I want to see in the world around me. And, becoming more loving, more peaceful, kinder, mild, patient, all those things that are really not easy to learn, amazing skills. But anyway, I think what's happened for me too is eventually, after years of working on it, I got to the point where I realized I had to make drastic lifestyle changes. And this is the advice nobody wants to hear, is about looking at what we're eating, looking at what we're drinking, looking at what we're using for entertainment, looking at all those things. And it's very overwhelming, and, slowly stripping off the layers, and kind of even 2 steps forward, 1 back. So that's sort of how I see the process. And I think right now, everybody's in the awakening process. And I think that the sort of geopolitical and social changes and shakeups that we're seeing and information that's coming out is doing a wonderful job of waking people up. And I think we just need a little bit of time, to transition more into the ascension work.
Yeah. I was going to just touch upon, unless somebody wants to add to that. Sheila?
I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My own experiences throughout my whole life has gotten to me where I am now. And I, was very cynical and skeptical about a lot of things that was happening in society, in the energy, and everything that I grew up with. And as this energy has changed, the actual magnetic field of the energy has changed. I totally understand it now. All the things that I came in, all those challenges that you were talking about, Karen, and those obstacles that I had in my life. But I do know as a soul, it was part of, what I said I was going to come into the family and experience and stuff like that. And my awakening, was slow, but then it wasn't. It was destined to be there. And when we talk about the ascension now, the energy that's happening, everybody's feeling it. Everybody's feeling the global, the social, the political, everything that you were talking about. But also, these changes have been coming since the beginning of time. And Adam, when you were talking about Tibetan and all the old civilizations, even in Egypt, the way the energy was brought together, it's all part of revving up to the new human energy that we are feeling now. And everybody's talking about ascension, not understanding, or they do understand, that it's a whole change of energy in their own lives, and whether they can decide to change and do different, or they can stay stuck. And when we say stuck, we talk about the old energy doing the same program, things that you were taught, dealing with your fears, dealing with, your shame, your resentment, your anger. And then also realizing that humanity's waking up, that things aren't right, and that we as humans can change it. This is the time. This is the energy that's here now. And of course, we have all these helpers that are here now too, that are coming out, that it's not so scary so much when people are going through this ascension time and they know that things have got to change. They know that they need to be in a different area, and if they're going to survive, things have to change. The new energy is magnificent, and the ascension process about all of us, that we've had that energy within inside us from the very beginning of time. It's just we didn't know how to use it certain times, and now it's coming forward that we can actually tap into it. So I love the ascension times and giving others wisdom that that they can live in the higher frequency, understand all the things that are happening to our physical bodies. And Adam, you were talking about that, the ascension symptoms. Where do they come from? Why is it affecting our body? And when I go back to the scientific, as far as our physical bodies, electromagnetic field, and what is happening, from the physical body all the way emotional, mental, and spiritual body, then they kind of understand, when they go into that environment, when it's ugly, it's negative and you don't feel comfortable in it. What is it triggering? But also, what is your part in it? How can you stabilize your own energy and then make a difference with others? And we're all sending, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Thank
It's
you.
the energy.
Yeah. Elsa, do you have something to say?
So I'm gonna bring it back so we can respin it, is the word sensitive. Sensitive is tar sit life. So the tar is how we're like Russian dolls, crustaceans upon crustaceans of ourselves. This is our belief system. We're starseeds. Tar is star. It's the dust from the ETs, comets and meteorites. So to be in resistance is to be resin is tar, so it resins in you. To be resistance is to be holding it, and this we call these anchors or memories that they're triggers. These need to be addressed so that you can release the cyst of that tar and allow the new tar to come through. So we're getting upgraded big time with all these solar flares, and this is why they wanted us to be light beings so that we would have ease and grace through this period, which is what Karen was talking about. So we have to improve our bodies. If something feels icky, try and address it in yourself or sit with it and just move your way through it at your pace, not your husband's pace, not your wife's pace, not your children's pace, your pace. The other thing we've noticed is our pets are going through this, and the wildlife and the trees. And we found the crystals and the rocks really helping us, and the water. But yeah, it's the animals, the fish, the whales, the dolphins when we're out in the ocean. They're all feeling it. They're changing with us. They're also appreciating how we're changing. So it's this is galactic. So it's good galactic, but it's not. It doesn't mean it's easy. So we have to have compassion for others, yeah, and
Yeah.
ourselves.
Well, speaking of galactic, I mean, in terms of dreams, in terms of encounters, many of you have had encounters, had visions, have the energetic companionship of others around you. I know for myself, certainly feeling it over the last month or two, a certain opening, a veil opening, and a sensitivity towards things that I've felt, but I feel a little bit stronger now. And it's awakened me, but it's taken me out of this reality to some extent at different moments. So in the presence of others who are not feeling what I'm feeling, I feel a sense of dissociation from them. And it's almost as if you've raised your level of consciousness and it's hard to go back down again. It's almost playing in first grade and then going back to preschool. And so I find that give and take, that interaction is difficult to trick yourself or tell yourself, how do you now play with not a younger group of people and not judging yourself as better, but how do you interact with people that don't see your perspective and don't feel your perspective? And it becomes such a drain on the energetic system. I don't know if you've experienced that or if you know people who do feel that. I don't know if you want to touch upon that, your own personal experience, or just concur with that. I know, for example, and I'll let you talk in a second, I know the story we tell, once we change the story, we change our life. And I know for myself, for example, we continue in a pattern telling a story so that we can fit in with everyone. And once we break free from the story, we feel the isolation and solitude away from the group. And then we're left with the reality of, wow, we are an individual, no matter if we have family, we have relatives, everything. So I think we just keep ourselves stuck in the story to be in this earthly plane. I don't know, maybe you want to share somebody wants to speak about that.
All right, I'll go first. I guess.
Go ahead, Preston.
I mean, I get that feeling. It's kind of, it's difficult waking up. It's kind of analogy I use is dragging yourself out of bed in the morning. It's nice to just lay there and sleep. And then, you wake up and you feel good. And it's a whole new perspective on life. For me, I came into this field as a skeptic, a materialist, found out that my family was seeing UFOs. I started looking for them myself, having encounters, while at the same time started having out-of-body experiences, a lot of paranormal stuff going on. And yeah, it was incredibly isolating. I felt like I couldn't relate to people the same way. I'd be in a party, it would be quite lonely because everything seemed so mundane. Everyone was talking about sports or recipes or church or what have you. And I wanted to talk about life after death. I wanted to talk about ETs out there. I wanted to talk about really profound subjects. And I would clear the room sometimes. And I learned to just sort of sit back. But what's really cool is privately, people would come to me and really get into it and talk about these experiences and say, wow, that's the most profound conversation I've had in a really long time. And it was really a blessing in a way, but difficult. It's still a little difficult. My family did come around. They know. I've convinced them all UFOs are real. I've taught some of them how to have out-of-body experiences. So I think there's an effect for the company you keep. You're affected by them, certainly, but they're affected by you as well. So the best way you can help others in many ways is just help yourself, grow yourself. And people will look upon you as like, wow, this person is happy. This person is having these experiences. How can I do that? Rather than preaching to them or trying to change their viewpoint. Just live your own life, shine your light. And I think that's the best way, honestly, to teach people. But yeah, it's a difficult path and can be very lonely, especially in the beginning. But I certainly found new friends, and I found some people who were not my friends. So ultimately, it's like a house cleaning, which is always good.
That's excellent. Yeah.
I had that happen yesterday. I spat the dummy. Because Preston's been doing this for many years. Like, I always relate. I think I read Preston was back in when Ghostbusters, like, well before then, Preston. So you've been doing this. You've been very patient with everyone. But like yesterday with our family members, they said something, and I said, I've been saying this for 30 years. This is what I said to my family. I said, and now you're listening to someone else and you're all having a conversation about this other person that said it, but I've been saying it for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to spit the dummy on this. And I said it. And they said, okay, you've had your ego moment. Are you okay? I'm like, no. And I had to go and garden for like an hour because, I wasn't being patient like Preston. I was being, I was like, preaching, I guess, but I'm even in my own family after everything we've been through. So again, it's a releasing, right? So
Yeah.
I gave myself a pat on the back at the end of the day, but even though we're all going through this, like Karen said, it's still happening. It really is. It's still unfolding for us too. So I spat the dummy. I admit it.
Yeah. I know for myself, I grow impatient more with myself. Well, not really. I mean, I do get impatient with the people around me. I mean, having the children years ago, when you don't have the best relationship or the most contact, and then when you decide to do this work and being told you're weird, you're strange, on top of the fact that you don't have contact with children, it becomes like, okay, I'm going to now stick to the path and find my own power and be the example that will show them that you can fight adversity and you can go against the grain and you could stand in your own power and be disliked or not supported. But then eventually it all shifts, and then you see that pattern or that cyclical thing taking place, not just right now, but throughout life, as a child dealing with parents who don't want to hear things. And then moving from childhood into adolescence, where you know more, but don't think you know more because nobody understands you. And then getting into relationships where you outgrow people who no longer resonate. And then realizing that we are just mirrors of one another. And those unhealed aspects of ourselves are definitely going to come out through the person opposite us or in the vicinity of us. And just, have like a springboard of what we're unconsciously feeling. We're going to see it in them, and it's going to come right back to us. So sometimes it's hard. You say, you know what, sometimes we're better off alone, so you don't have to feel a reflection back of what you're feeling or thinking, because sometimes it's not always pleasant. I wouldn't use the word pleasant, but you could see what's on the unconscious level that comes out. Yeah.
I think also, the more we evolve and we go through those experiences, Adam, with, our children and people thinking that we're crazy and we're losing our minds and they don't relate with us. And then years later, all of a sudden they're told the same thing by somebody else. And it's like, I told you that. What am I, chopped liver type thing? But it's about family members also. It's like, just like, a doctor can't treat their own family type thing. It's the same thing with us, is that they don't want to hear it from us. They want to hear it from a more professional people that they think, because they know us on a different wavelength,
Right.
And right, exactly. But when you start to grow, it also helps you go within to actually develop your own power within, go within and have the strength and to know and who you really are. And then how do you play with the others in the sandbox? You know, it's like, don't ruffle the feathers, but be there in a way that you don't, you know, make the waves go. You can actually put out the energy of change because they see a change in you. And so then they start responding in that change. And that's exactly what's happened with my grandchildren. You know, my children were like, you know, mom's crazy, you know, my ex-husband, she's crazy type thing. And then they had to go and grow up and have their own children. And the other children, of course, are born in this higher frequency energy. So they have a totally different sensation, electromagnetic field. They see things differently. And now they come forward. It's like it's the truth. You know, they understand it. Just like Karen, when you were talking about the crystals and the energy of the water and Mother Gaia and the earth and how it's connected to each of us, you know, they start to realize that, yeah, well, maybe there's some truth in this. And it's still about choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
They have to wake up to when it's their time to wake up. And sometimes they don't, and sometimes they do. But you can be the conduit, you know, and don't say I told you so, you know, because that's going to have all the old issues come out. But just say, you know, just send love and compassion out. That's what it's all about, love and compassion of who we really are as spirit light beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Karen.
And I was going to just add to what everybody else said, and that is, before I had my ET experience, you know, I was always trying to fit in, trying to get along with other people, always putting my foot in my mouth and saying the wrong thing and feeling bad about it. And, you know, didn't really understand why I didn't really fit in. After having ET contact, my whole world changed. First of all, I tried telling a few people, and people just thought I was crazy, and there was no point. It would be like bashing my head against the wall. I'm not going to do it. But the other part of it is we become more like who we associate with is who we generally will become like. And I had spent this extended time with these so highly evolved beings that I wanted to be like them. I didn't want to be like my neighbors and family and stuff. Not that I'm judging them. It's just that I realized how much I fell short of being like them and really wanted to work on it. So I gave myself long periods of isolation, not to escape other people's reactions, although I knew they would not be upbuilding or positive, more so that I could work on myself. And I became aware, you know, like the observer within. So I was aware of my patterns. I was aware of my weaknesses. I was aware of how much I fell short of being like these other beings. And I want to be with them, and I want to live like them, and I want to share that with other people. But I felt that to be authentic, I had to work on that within myself. And then as time went by, I realized that I didn't have to be the savior to the world. I don't have to run around preaching to everybody. I just have to make the subtle changes within myself. Some notice, some don't. And I really began to treasure my alone time. And then eventually I started a podcast so that I could meet other people that I resonated with. And that's how I met Preston, and that's how I met Elsa. And these people become my friends, and they mean so much to me. And we don't see each other every day. We don't talk on the phone, but we see each other, you know, every few months. During a podcast, and we share something that's so meaningful and so satisfying that it satisfies me. And I don't need to be popular, you know, with everyday people. But I guess I'm kind of rambling on, but I guess suffice to say that other people will get their lessons in their own way and in their own time, just like the universe provided my learning for me perfectly tailored to me, theirs will come perfectly tailored to them. And so I don't have to expose myself as being a weirdo in public or anything like that. I can just go with the flow.
Yeah. Very interesting. As we go through this specific time, and there are messages being presented by many people, is there any specific messages that you would like to share that you feel are taking place, or that you can see happening, or information that would improve or increase the level of awareness or consciousness for the people who are interested in hearing that and on the path to evolving, not being told what to do or what will happen specifically, but the feel, the general energetic feel that you have?
I, I oh,
Go ahead.
sorry, Preston.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Elsa.
No,
Because I'm listening to all of you and I'm trying not to, but it's just busy in my head. So we go back to crow, and you have to be like the crow. You have to wake up and rise and set, rise and set. So if you can just allow the soul to just do each day, and then what presents on that day is your gifts for the day, and then go to the next day. So then you're not taking your soul too far in the future, which is no man's land, or too much in the past, which is anchors. So you're not in fear or worry, which is a great practice of the Tao and many religions. So you're just in, what can I do today? What can I do with everything before me right now? What can I do today? And then once you get to the end of the day, be in appreciation of the day. Make sure your bedroom is nice. So you're creating your own bed. Your bedroom's nice. And then you wake up and you rise as the crow with the sun, rise and set again. And what you're doing is you're creating colonies or crustaceans in yourself with these Russian dolls of yourself, whether you're going back through the dolls or up through the dolls. And sometimes you can go back through the dolls and up through the dolls all in one day with the solar flares. But yeah, just allow. Like yesterday was a big energy day here on the farm. We noticed all the cattle. They all sleep at the same time, but they sleep longer because they need support for their bodies. So their resin needs to rest and sit longer in their cells, and then they go off and eat again, but they have a longer sleep that day. And it sounds really simple, but we've made the simple in our lives not important. And now we have to come back to making the simple important. And then you'll become like Preston and Karen, where you're getting all these. I'm sure Sheila's the same. And Adam, like, you go into the simple, and then all of a sudden it gets real busy.
Yeah.
And then you got to go quiet again with it all and let that manifest. And then you get real busy. And so it's ebbs and flows. It's not 9 to 5, that's for sure. 9 to 5 really does not work. And this is what's happening, is we're trying to force all that into 9 to 5. It's not going to work. It's a failure. It is set to fail. And
she said, Elsa, is
allowing
really,
them.
it's really profound, simple, but such an important thing, because people do live in the past and they live in the future. They're anchored by the trauma of the past and in fear of the future. They're not living in the present. And this, I think, if people would just relax for a second, leave fear behind. If I could give anybody any advice, recognize that you are an immortal being. We live in a universe that's essentially safe. It really is. The very worst thing that can happen is we die, but we don't. We're immortal beings. Death is actually a truly healing event. No reason to rush into it. But let's face it, it's hard for the people who we leave behind. But for those who go beyond, they're going to a much more, a better place, in simple words, of freedom and love and light. So yeah, if we could just leave fear behind, live in the present, I think that would help so much. And what you said, Sheila, very simple. Love is the answer. Just walk in love and truth. Do the right thing. have compassion. This would make the world a completely different place. And yeah, I'm an idealist, I'm an optimist. It sounds simple, but I think that definitely this, if people would just recognize how connected we are to each other, that when you hurt someone else, you're actually hurting yourself even more. But yeah, I really love what you said, Elsa. So many people live in the past. Fear is a guiding force in our lives, and it's generally the fear of death.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So if we could just recognize that alone, that we don't die, we are immortal, it would change our behavior so much.
Yeah.
And let love guide your actions, not greed, not envy, not fear, hate, or any of these, so-called deadly sins, because they all have their counterpart on the positive side. So, and fear really can't exist if you're in a state of love anyway. So I loved how you just put that, Sheila. It's simple. Love is the answer.
It's always, the consciousness field that's out there now. When we talk, we've been talking about the Ascension and the things that we feel about it and stuff like that. And it is about not being in the future or anchored in the past. Absolutely. The wreckage of the past, or worrying about the future, worrying about the fear of what's going to come out. And if you can just, role model that, be the conduit in everything that you do, it resonates and that people feel it around you. And when we talk about the collective, you're right, Preston, we're all one. We're all in this energy of love if we choose. And we also are ambassadors for the Galactic. We're ambassadors to live our life and to wake up now and to be able to be the ambassadors to help humanity at this time. That's what I love about what I do. I love about helping people get unstuck, but actually step into who they really are, and I love it, Karen, when you talked about going inside yourself. Exactly. I had to go inside myself and things were forced upon me, but then it wasn't, because it was still my choice, the direction that I took. And if we share from love and keep it focused on love each and every day. And then also, if you don't do a good job, don't beat yourself up. A lot of us beat ourselves up. We don't need to do that. That's part of the wisdom that we grow. That's why we came here. We came, to experience all this so that we can be ambassadors of the Galactic, and that our souls never die. We are always connected. We're always connected.
Yeah, I wanted to touch upon the subject of hearing what everyone's saying here is the attachment to time. And that attachment to time is the fear of time running out. And I think when many people go through a dark night of the soul and have that NDE, or that feeling that life goes on outside the body itself, then I think you can come to a more peaceful place in your life, knowing that things will go on as they should, and you don't have to grasp onto controlling others nor your time. I was sitting the other day in the living room and I said to myself, with people around me saying, aren't you going to do this? Aren't you going to do that? Aren't you going to do this? Aren't you going to do that? And I grew up in that environment. And so for me, I know how to detach myself. I know how to pull myself out of that situation and just become like a Buddha that looks like I'm not interested in anything. And then you hear the words, what, like, what are you walking around, comatose? But I'm not walking around comatose. I'm completely aware of what's going on, more so than those words and what's happening or what's taking place. And so I try to detach myself because I could see it clearer, and I don't have to rush or attach myself to an outcome, although I'm definitely caught up in that ego state many times, which makes me say what I'm saying right now. So how do you detach? The more solitude you have, in terms of, if you have a large family, it's more difficult. Yes. If you have yourself, it's easier. The less attachments you have, the easier it is to get into solitude. So how do you each of you get into your own solitude based upon the responsibilities you have?
Well, I'd like to say something about love. I think that self-love is absolutely key before we can even love other people. And self-love is not some romantic, idealistic place. It's includes, it's like love is like self-love is like a basket. It includes self-control, it includes patience, it includes um, joy, it includes so many things, but we need to turn them towards ourselves first, I believe. And once we do that, then we end up with a peaceful, joyful existence that can be very simple. So my life is really easy because my kids have grown up, they're independent, and I'm an old woman with two cats. And so it's super, super easy for me. And I'm not saying y'all should just get rid of your kids or anything like that. I'm saying, you got to deal with what you got to deal with. But but for me, some days I just go, oh, I slept in this morning. I went out and did a bit of weeding. I went for a 5 mile walk. I enjoyed the changing of the colors of the leaves because we're entering autumn now. I came home. I talked to the cats. I sat in the sun. I watched a couple of educational YouTube videos. And then I ate some more and I ate really good food. And now I'm taking it easy. I might have a bath. And I go, wow, you don't expect much yourself. And I say, yeah, but you know what? Every moment of it is pleasure. And it doesn't matter. You wake up, you spend your day, you go to sleep, you wake up, and one day you die. So in the meantime, why not just make it as pleasurable as possible? So even though I'm using self-control, I'm selecting the best nutrient I can for my body. I'm staying away from negative people. But my life has become quite amazing. And with all that free time in my head, which is very peaceful. So my mom had a saying, it was kind of cute. She says, sometimes I sits and I thinks, and sometimes I just sits. Like it's just amazing how you will gravitate, I think, towards what's naturally healthy and in your best interest. I don't think we have to read take, lessons or steps or anything. I think it just comes. So my life is beautiful. And some days I go, gee, I didn't get much done today. And I go, but it doesn't matter. Now I'm going to bed and then I'm going to wake up and then I'm going to do it again. And it's just really, really, really simple. I know it sounds really selfish, but after a lifetime of doing for others and knocking myself out to try to be a good person and do all these things, oh my God, it's just so nice to be an old lady with two cats.
Yeah, well, time is irrelevant. So, right, and age is irrelevant as well. So the connection towards our inner child and keeping that alive is such an integral part of being just a human being and having fun. There's so many people are connected towards the materialism of life, and when that runs out, then they're left with not much other than just the exterior and nothing on the interior. And I think that's the solitude that is around us in many capacities. It's one thing, of course, to take care of our shell, our body, our human body, so that we can have the vehicle for us to continue growing and seeking and learning. And I know for myself, that's my motivation. And whatever the universe presents to me in terms of the physical, I'll have to counteract that with my own knowledge of hearing people like yourself speak about what helps, what hurts, what advances, what doesn't advance us, and weighing it like a scale. Yeah. So, yeah, very interesting information. I think you mentioned self-love, Karen. I think that's the hardest journey, I think, for us to deal with, because as they say, we come into this world, innocent and, a soul that gets tainted by others, in the experiences we have. And so I think, it's funny because I bring my children into it because my daughter, for example, she'll say, how do you love yourself? And so I said to her, I have to be honest with you. I didn't know how to love myself. So I'm working on that. It's a work in progress. And, I can't be, pontificate that I know more about something when I really don't. I said, at this age, I'm finally learning to accept that inner child in me and bring it together into my life as one, where I tried to push it aside with the scars and stuff, whatever it was that I didn't want in my life. And now I accept it with love and with power, and it feels honored in me. And I feel honored in bringing it into my life. So I explained that to her. So we did like a child meditation, an inner child meditation, which was energetically completely draining because it brought me, I don't know if I had the position to do this as her father, but in some ways it actually helped her, I think, because we've communicated more since that incident took place, because she was able to see. And I bring it in so much as, are we able to see that inner child that was a pain in the neck to our parents and to the rest of the people who didn't like us for that? I don't know if many of you experienced that, but I know many of you have. I could feel it, and you can feel it yourselves. So I think that breakthrough is a significant aspect of allowing wonder back into our lives. The wonder of it all.
I like
Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know what question to ask, but maybe somebody wants to say something.
well, the word, I want to come back to Karen saying alone, because in our we've got 10 in the household. I mean, they come and go now because the first batch driving, so this is made a big change in the family. But now we got boyfriends and girlfriends as well, so it's busy in the house. And but to be alone in a full house, it's weird. And like Preston was saying, trying to understand the family and teach them about ETs. You're the lonely person at the party. This word alone is all one. All one is Salone. Salone is to be free from death. To release, so you're okay with being alone, so you release is to re-lens, so soul sees differently, or release is also soul sees frequency, so you see the frequency of yourself, the sense of yourself. So again, alone has become simple, and alone is become, they're like mediocre words almost. But if we can get back to those words, simple, alone, oh my gosh, imagine if this is what changes the world, those two words, simple, alone, love. I mean, they sound so basic, they almost sound cringy.
Yeah.
But if you could practice those three, wow. I mean, yeah, I'm saying this so I can hear it myself. So
an awakening. It's an awakening, yeah.
I think overcoming the word love is a big thing, because love itself sounds, I don't know, it depends on the background of what love represented and what it meant. And I think that's a challenging road for many people. Just the word itself. I mean, it's not a corny word, but it's a word that a lot of people built walls around in their lives. And so it's hard to just simply hear the word love as it's just spoken as an easy word to be digested. And I don't think it's easy to be digested for many people. I think there's a significance towards it, depending upon how you were loved or not loved. And as Elsa said, standing alone or being in that power has been a common theme for myself. The word all one, and coming to that place is powerful when you hear it and broken down, and the way the word resonates. But prior to that, I didn't have that feeling. Recently, yes. So interestingly, many of you have had Sheila is referred to as the Galactic grandmother. Maybe you could share a little bit about that, how you took on that word and that energy.
Right. Well, it's all part of my experiences as I've been growing in this ascension time. Started when I was a child, being able to communicate with angels, I'm hard of hearing and couldn't hear humans very well, but I could communicate with them. And as I got older, I was shamed and chastised that, Catholic faith, you can only have a guardian angel and you can't, talk to God, and that only priests can talk to God. But I knew that my soul knew that there was something more destined to me. And as the years went on, and I started growing up and very unhappy, and started really looking at my childhood and why I was so unhappy, started taking responsibility for myself and got myself into recovery work for my own issues, meaning, the pain that I was having, the anger and the resentment and, the fear, the big time fear of doing different. I was able to move forward. And it was always the grandmothers, the energy of the galactic, that I always felt that they had their arms wrapped around me. And as I started to change, I started to feel them more in my life and understood why things happened years ago that I didn't understand. And now I understand it. And that it was already in my DNA, in my actual knowledge as a soul, who I was. And then to actually step out of my own fear and actually resonate and say, yes, I am a channel for the Galactic Star Mothers. And I have been channeling many that I thought was just the angels and Saint Germain and Isis and all these other entities that was coming through. But my journey led me to open my Akashic remembrance and also my galactic remembrance of being there. And a lot of people, when they ask, what type of galactic grandmother are you? And I try to explain to them that it's all one. It's the energy of who we are as spirit beings and our blueprint energy of the DNA, the dimensional, the multidimensional energy that we have, being able to tap into that. So it's all about, my own learning, my own development, my own skepticism, my own pain, and my own loneliness, feeling that I was all alone. But what happened was that once I got past the fear and really was, realizing that it wasn't selfish for me to take a look at myself and to spend time with myself, then, that's when the synchronicity and things happen experiences showed me that I wasn't alone, that they were there, and it continues on this day. It continues on a daily basis, how they communicate with me, but also how helping others get out of the mode of that fear, but also that unworthiness, that they're not worthy to be serene and in the solitude of being alone. And that kind of comes with the advancement as you start to ascend. And what happened to me was the Star Mothers, they communicate to me in all different ways, not only the Star Mothers, but it's the connection within your subconscious, the energy and all the helpers that you've had from galactic and also in human form here, from all those Akashic lives that we've had, but also the lineage of those lifetimes and the programs that was imprinted inside you. And then realizing that, wait a minute, I don't have to fight back with that person. I don't have to say those things because I don't like that. I don't like that about me. And that's where you start to change. And that's when the Star Mothers kind of stepped in, and it's like a meld. The channel's a meld now. It's not just, you do this and you do that. It's like it's part of understanding all that I've been through, and why I'm actually here is to help others awaken to their divinity, the wisdom from the galactic, all of our ancestors, all of our beings that's been with us from the beginning of time. So I'm very grateful to be able to be at this place in my time. And many of my own life experiences come from the trauma and all the stuff that I had. Also hospice work, knowing that I was connected with the soul when I would do hospice work, but also the joy of that soul knowing that they're at peace, that they don't have to be afraid of it, and the oneness of our soul when we come together and when we transition over. It's all part of my own growth. And then sharing, being authentic, sharing. A lot of people say, well, how can you say that you've been in recovery 40 years? How can you say you're an alcoholic? It's like, because it's the shame in society, the way people look at you. And it's not shameful. It is an experience that grew me and showed that it was just the way that I coped to survive. And that's only one thing. That's only one thing. And when we can sit in the peace of just being, it's so serene. Just like turn off the internet, turn off the radio, turn off everything, and just be quiet. Just be in there, and then you can hear. You can if you listen, you can hear. If you consciously put that out there, that's what you want to do, they will come to you. They will come to you. All of your helpers. And when I do a healing session on someone, it's not just the modality, it is the frequency of the oneness of us all. And the soul knows. The soul knows what needs to be healed. And when we can make the connection, the eternity coherence connection with the heart and the brain and the energy around, then we know that, we're growing, we're changing. And that's where we're at right now. That's why I get very excited about it, is because it's coming out. The dark and all the stuff that we've known is coming out, and the truth is coming out, and the truth will set us free to love and to be the compassion, and to be the anchor for others and to be the portal of that anchor. Yeah. I know a lot I said.
No, that was beautiful. Thank you. I was going to ask Preston, in terms of the work that you're doing, the investigation in terms of people's stories and sharing their stories. You're a lighthouse to give a person a platform to express things that people have not had probably an opportunity to do in the past. I've come across you myself. How has your connection to these people enhanced your life, or at least the connections and stories that they share?
Oh, it's definitely enriched it in many ways. You interview someone about their experiences and you immediately have a very profound connection. Because I do talk to a lot of people. It's not about necessarily gathering their stories to write in a book. My ultimate goal is really to help people. I get a lot of calls from people who just want someone to listen to them, someone to hear their story. They might have questions. Sometimes, it's often, I would say, a very emotional experience for them having a UFO encounter. And many of them don't have any recourse, any support system. So it's certainly changed my life. Not only do I get to learn a lot and hear these amazing stories, but they become really good friends. These are people I often stay in touch with for, until they pass on or I pass on. So yeah, it's absolutely enriching. It brings us all together. It's amazing because I've had the really good fortune to talk to people from all over the world. Australia, certainly, Canada, Germany, Ukraine, Finland, Norway, Spain, France, Italy, South America, Canada. It really kind of makes the world a more homey place. And it's nice to know you have friends out there, people who are interested in this subject in the way that you are.
Yeah.
And doing all of this brought all of these experiences closer to me, because I came into this field, as I said, as a skeptic. Now I've had experiences. I've had out-of-body experiences. I've had lots of precognition. I've seen UFOs. I've had very close encounters, in fact. And some of this was directly as a result of associating very closely with contactees. I think on another level, it was my destiny. But yeah, it absolutely changes your life. I've been very, very blessed, very fortunate, because this was not something I was seeking out. It kind of fell into my lap, and I pursued it definitely because it's endlessly interesting and fascinating. And just when you think you've got things figured out, you realize, no, you're not even close. There's always another mountain to climb. And, I like what you said, always having a sense of wonder, because that is continuing throughout this whole journey. And I love it. I mean, finding out UFOs were real, I'll never forget reading Travis Walton's book and Betty and Bernie Hill, and the sense of wonder I had. And then with the out-of-body experiences, the same thing. And it's just continuing and continuing. So it's a real joy just to be a part of this universe, to know that we are indestructible, immortal, eternal, and that the universe is vast and infinite. So it's going to be a journey that never ends. It's apparent. It's a little daunting, but at the same time, it's really cool. I love it. So yeah, it's absolutely wonderful to have the opportunity to speak with all these people. It's changed my life in so many ways for the better.
Karen, Elsa, you want to share something about your experience in terms of how it's enhanced your lives?
I'm grateful because I was, like Karen said, alone for a long time, and alone in myself as well. This is basically, can be alone in the family, alone in society, alone in your profession, then alone in yourself. And you go, you have those Hollywood moments where you say, who am I then? And this is where you have to re-see or re-zen in yourself, and you become, like Preston said, he wasn't attempting to be a seeker. He was a skeptic, but now he's a seeker. To seeker is the salts of magic. This is the origin words of it. And so you're seeing the magic within. So it becomes magic calls. So it's too good, the feeling, like what Preston was saying, and Karen and Sheila and Adam. You're all saying the feeling is too good not to keep going this way. This is the path. It's calling you. And because we've gone through all these experiences now with what's happened in the world, there are many crossing over in a lot of great numbers. So it creates, we call them ghost gates, but it's not ghost gates, it's spirit gates. It's birth and the death process. The birth and death process opens portholes. So if you have a lot crossing over all at once, and what it does is it opens portholes, bang, bang, bang. So the ones around, even if they aren't seekers, they become them because they can hear them, the ones crossing in and out, in and out. And so this is why, I'm sure you're all getting the same messages from people in your audience, is that I'm having so many past life dreams. I'm having this, I'm having that, because they're connecting with the hospice. Hospice, so you have hospital, where they keep all the information in a pit tell. Hospice is ghost guest. And I love this because I'm like, oh, ghost guest, that's so cute. They're our friends. They're not meaning to scare us. It's just our belief systems. They're just wanting to come through. And like Preston said, they're just wanting to debrief. They're just wanting to be acknowledged. Sometimes just acknowledging them, then they move on to where they're supposed to go. Some of them don't even know that they have passed. So imagine we look weird to them. Imagine being stuck here for a long time. So this is what's happening. A lot of people are connecting to all these spirit energies, whether it's ET or the ancient ones or past loved ones. And so they're collecting this information. And this is where all of you come in, because people who have no idea about all this have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
And they can listen to all of your stories and listen to your audience and go, oh my God, this is exactly what's happened. It's a sounding board. It's a safe place. They don't even have to reveal themselves. They can just go in and listen to your stories. And it's a great service that all of you have followed your path to do. It's very, it's like you all been saying, it is literally an honor being around all people like yourselves, because you're walking it. You're doing it. You're walking it. You're walking it in for others though too, not just yourselves. So thank you, because it's tricky.
Yeah, but it's interesting, as Sheila said, the crystalline grid, in terms of connecting with people who resonate and being able to be drawn back to a connection that feels right and feels good in terms of growing and shifting to that higher level of consciousness with like-minded people. That's a true support system and a true feeling of connection, a soul connection. And that for me is very important because without that connection, everything else it becomes an emptiness or a void, a real void. Unless anybody would like to share anything else or speak about
I
anything
got what
else.
I just wanted to say. Um, Part of what I did was I created what I needed, except I needed it before I created it. But anyway, that's why I have podcasts. So I have the Quantum Guide Show, which is interviews with people who have something positive to add to humanity. And that the type of show that I've created is what I wished that I had had when I was going through my awakening process. So that's what I created because I figured I'm not that unique. Maybe other people could use that as well. And as thank you, Elsa, for what your kind words. It's a safe place where people can come and hear how all different kinds of people are doing life, and it helps them to realize they're not weird, and they're not alone. And then the other podcast I have is called Aliens and Angels, and I interview people who have had ET or angelic experiences and contact, and but also we discuss interesting topics because it's live, so I have a group chat. But anyway, those are things that I do to help give back and to show my appreciation. But also, I owe a deep debt of gratitude to Preston because he's the one who encouraged me to write my book, which I'm almost finished writing. It seems like the editing never ends. Every time I go through and read a chapter, I go, oh, gee, I got to change that. Oh, I got to change that. But I'm hoping to have that out about my ET experience. So, and I don't know. I just thought I was a weird person. I didn't realize that other people might enjoy hearing about it. And Preston, he's been a great encouragement to me. Thank you, Preston. And I can't wait to get to get the book published. So I'm also doing that anyway. So
Yeah, maybe each one of you could just share a little bit where you can be reached and the type of work you're doing, on your website or your connection.
Okay. Um, you can connect with me on my website, SheilaTillich.com, or you also can connect on YouTube, my Sheila B. Energy Healer, Galactic Ascension Academy. Also my email, which is Sheila@SheilaTillich.com. I love helping others awaken. So my Galactic, the community that I facilitate and part of my unity with others is helping them live in the 3D reality, but also standing in their power in the multidimensional energy that's here, the higher consciousness that is here right now. So yeah, you can reach me through those different areas.
Elsa? No, if you could just share.
We have thank you, Adam. We have spinbeings.com is our website, and we do offer sessions for people that really want one-on-one. So when they start to ask personal questions, we prefer that it's a one-on-one. But we come into groups like this, or sometimes we're invited to meet with big spiritual groups around the world, and we just come in, and it's usually private, it's not live, and we just talk with everyone. So we seem to go around to countries. I'm sort of the spokesperson for the family. My family, just to them, it's just every day, and I guess this is what we're here to show others, how to make it in your day to day with family, with little ones, ghosts, ETs, with little ones, family, and just how we're taking the hoo-ha out of it and just making it a little bit more real, I guess.
Mhm.
We put through little videos and shorts of our life, and that links you back to usually the longer videos we do, because the longer videos, we just sort of have like trailers, and it leads you back on. So if you go on the website and look at videos, you'll be able to link back to the interviews we've done. Yeah. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, the graphics, the illustration, and the everything is really powerful. I'm always intrigued and motivated when I see those trailers, and yeah, the trailers specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you. And
Thank you.
Preston?
Thanks, Adam. And thanks to all of you. It's been awesome and lots of fun. And special thanks to you, Karen, for your very nice words. When I heard about your contact experiences, I recognized the validity of them immediately, having talked to so many people and hearing all the similarities. So I'm very excited about your book. I am easily reachable on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X. I have a YouTube channel where I put out a lot of my research, a new video every Friday evening. I also do a podcast with the amazing Dolly Saffron, my favorite contactee. It's called The Light Gate. It airs live each Monday evening from 5 to 8 Pacific, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And we bring on all kinds of guests and experiencers. So yeah, I'm putting out books as fast as I can. I'm on number 33 right now, Symmetry number 2, The Continuing Experiences of Dolly Saffron. And yeah, thanks again, Adam. I think these subjects are super important, and we all need to come together and love and wage peace on this world.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank all of you for joining me and sharing your insight, your inspiration. I'm honored, and I'm happy to be able to put this together, and hopefully to do more of this. Bring a gathering of people to share like-minded subjects and issues and personal growth and whatever it takes to evolve and to motivate others to find that passion within themselves. And I think when we're resonating with one another. We're on the road to doing that. So thank you all for joining me. And
Adam.
yep, have a great evening, a great morning, a great afternoon, and peace, health, and happiness to everybody and their families.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Okay.